What's going on, guys? It's your boy Steve. Welcome to my channel, Fantasy Studs. Now, I saw this interesting graph yesterday on Twitter, courtesy of Andy Holloway from the Fantasy Footballers. And so it's the wide receivers with the most targets in the red zone last season. Now, if you take a look, you got Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Jarvis Landry, all as the top dogs ahead of guys like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. And I found that pretty interesting. So, let's take a look at Jarvis Landry with 23 targets in the red zone last year, tied for second in the NFL. ESPN has him ranked as a 22nd wide receiver in fantasy football, which I think is disrespecting him. I would definitely move up and draft him earlier than he's projected to go. Now, I know he was on the Dolphins last year, and now he's on the Browns this year, different offense. But, as we know, there's a battle going on between Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield in the quarterback position on the Browns. And I think that Jarvis Landry is really going to be that security blanket for either of those guys while they're out there. Or even once we decide who is going to be the starting quarterback for the rest of the year. He really is, I made a video on this, he really is the clear-cut wide receiver one on the team. He's never missed a game in his career. He's an amazing route runner, one of the best route runners in the NFL, has crazy hands, and he's a PPR machine. And as we see, he's good in the red zone too. He's a trusted guy to throw to in the red zone. So I think having him ranked 22nd, I don't know, man. I would move up and draft him earlier than he's projected to go. Now let's move on to another one that caught my eye. Cooper Kupp, tied for the most. Let's say this out loud. Cooper Kupp was tied for the second most receiving targets in the red zone in the NFL last season, above Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, above all those guys. He's ranked 37th on ESPN. He's ranked 37th in wide receivers. Guys, that's a perfect wide receiver two to have. A perfect wide receiver two. He had almost 900 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns last year. What more do you want to ask from your wide receiver two? Guys, if you can draft him as your wide receiver two, do that. He's ranked 37th overall this year. So he's going to go kind of early for wide receiver twos, but as you can see, it's well worth having him. So, guys, if you can draft him, giraffe him. He's a red zone target. If your wide receiver two can score touchdowns for you, that is a huge plus, and that will get you wins in your fantasy football season. Now, let's look at the other guy tied for second, Devontae Adams, who's bound to have a breakout season this year. The clear-cut wide receiver one for the Packers. And as we know, who's the quarterback for the Packers? Aaron Rodgers. Guys, Aaron Rodgers can make me look like a wide receiver one. Never mind a guy like Devontae Adams. The only downside for him is those concussions. He's had a lot of them, so it can get a little scary. He could be one concussion away from ending his career. We all know that. But, kind of all these guys are one concussion away from ending their career if you really think about it. But, guys, he's bound to have a breakout season on such a powerhouse offense, being the wide receiver one. Clearly, trusted in the red zone by Aaron Rodgers. He's ranked 9th overall for wide receivers. I think that's a fair ranking for him, but I think he definitely has top 5, maybe even top 3 wide receiver potential this year, depending on how clicking this Packers offense is on all cylinders. So, as we know, Keenan Allen, he's a stud. I think he's ranked right about where he should be. I think he's a 7th ranked wide receiver. Not really a sleeper. We know what Keenan Allen can do as long as he can stay healthy. He's that main guy on that offense. So that one, it was a surprise, but not really a surprise. But seeing Cooper Kupp, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams tied for number 2, that was pretty interesting to see, all above Antonio Brown. So I don't know. This is just one of those stats that it's not like one of those big flashy stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, receptions, but it really is one of those categories that, as a serious fantasy football owner, you want to look at and see where you guys are ranking. Like seeing Cooper Kupp ranked right up there second in the NFL, that's giving me a lot of confidence to have him as my wide receiver two on my team. Same with Jarvis Landry, seeing him right up there. Everyone knows what he can do PPR-wise, but some people kind of doubt his red zone threat. Guys, I think he's going to have a big year for the Browns this year. I think ranking him 22nd is really disrespecting him. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year. I found this to be an interesting statistic. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section. And also, if you guys haven't already subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you click the subscribe button, show your boy some love, and maybe check out some more of my videos.